wishcycling and the effort to cut back on trash contamination. You're listening to The Wrap from Central Florida Public Media. I'm Brendan Byrne. Recycling rates in Florida have been declining for the past 8 years, according to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Consistent rising rates of contamination, or the wrong things being placed in recycle bins, is the most significant issue.
Contamination interferes with the sorting process, and additionally, it lowers the value of recyclables.
We'll hear from experts in Orange and Brevard counties about the efforts to educate the public and the need to have clean recycling material. That's ahead on The Wrap, the big stories this week from Central Florida Public Media. But first, these headlines. Come November, Orange County voters will decide whether or not to renew a half-penny sales tax for education. Central Florida Public Media's education reporter Danielle Pryor explains the Orange County School Board approved the measure for the ballot this week.
The sales tax generates revenue that's used to refurbish old and build new school buildings in the district. Whether the referendum will be successful or not depends on who turns up to vote this November, says Stetson political science professor Callie Smith. Smith says she expects the abortion amendment to drive more voters to the polls and increasingly Democratic voters who usually support these kinds of initiatives.
If the Democrats are correct in anticipating that abortion being on the ballot is going to bring out a lot of Democrats to vote, those voters are probably going to be more likely to vote for the tax increase than more conservative or more Republican voters.
The half-penny sales tax has already raised more than $4 billion for the district since 2002. Danielle Pryor, Central Florida Public Media.
Ahead of the upcoming hurricane season, Governor Ron DeSantis added a $200 million boost to the My Safe Florida grant program for the next fiscal year. The funding has the ability to help 20,000 low and moderate income residents reduce property insurance costs. DeSantis signed 2 bills related to the My Safe Florida Home Grant program with the plan to add $30 million to include condos. The Orlando City Council approved a $40 million tax break this week for a hotel, residential, retail, and entertainment development next to the Kia Center. Central Florida Public Media's Joe Burns reports the council signed off on the plan and put $2.5 million towards it.
SED Development, a company affiliated with the Orlando Magic, first got approval a decade ago. Its new $500 million first phase includes a hotel, residential units, a 65,000 square foot event venue, an office tower, shops, restaurants, and a parking garage. All that on the now vacant block across West Church Street from the Kia Center. Commissioner Jim Gray says he understands concerns over $40 million in tax revenue, but
I think this project could be one of the more transformative projects that we've seen in a long time downtown.
In a recent post on social media, Democratic lawmaker Ana Eskamani criticized the tax break, citing a need to fund homeless services and shelters instead. Joe Burns, Central Florida Public Media.
A statewide task force continues to deliberate on the site of Florida's future Black History Museum after 2 finalists came neck and neck in the final rankings. St. Johns County and Eatonville, Orange County came within about 1.5 points of one another on the final rankings of the candidates for the site of the museum. The task force will meet in May to discuss the results of public input and an architectural survey before making the final call. These stories and more on our website. Visit cfpublic.org. Orlando's literary podcast, The Vulgar Geniuses, highlights writers of color, and host Veronica Smith says books can help us understand one another.
I want people to understand that reading is revolutionary. It is the most important gift that you're given at a young age that helps you to learn about the world that you exist in.
Hear from the co-hosts of that podcast this week on our podcast, Spotlight. Recycling rates in Florida have been declining for the past 8 years, according to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Consistent rising rates of contamination, or the wrong things being placed in recycle bins, is the most significant issue. For our Sounds of Central Florida project, a partnership between Central Florida Public Media and UCF's Nicholson School of Communication and Media, student journalists Rain Keenan, Casey Phillips, and Grace Goodwar find contamination occurs more often due to lack of education than negligence.
We only have one planet Earth, and it's our responsibility to manage the resources that are available to us responsibly. I'm David Gregory. I'm the Solid Waste Division Manager for Orange County, Florida. There's very often a misunderstanding in the community that, it just all gets thrown into the truck and it's a waste of time and it gets thrown to the landfill. Well, that doesn't happen here in Orange County. Measuring what gets thrown away and what gets recycled is a challenge. You need to know how much gets thrown away and how much gets recycled. In Florida, the Department of Environmental Protection does a really good job of trying to measure recycling and what goes on. Our recycling program is built around the MRF, the factory where those commodities are separated. There is a contamination challenge. The contamination problem is less that somebody put their strawberry container into the cart, but somebody actually putting a bag of garbage into the cart. First, contamination interferes with the sorting process. And additionally, it lowers the value of recyclables. The biggest contaminant we see is film plastic and plastic bags. Plastic bags could either be full of recyclable or they could be full of garbage. Anytime a plastic bag shows up at the MRF, they get immediately pushed off to the side and do not get recycled. You also have like the Amazon effect, right? How many cardboard boxes do you have in your recycling bin today compared to what we had 15, 20 years ago? What wishcycling is very often people wish that they could recycle something. I would use as an example a gold watch. Highly recyclable, highly valuable. You put it in your recycling bin. Those machines aren't designed to sort it.
My name's Kevin Smith, and I am the recycling coordinator for the Brevard County Solid Waste Management Department. What I tell people is I would like to see their recycling streams at home maybe shrink a little, but be more focused and be 100% accurate. There is a misconception that if you have one bad item, the entire load is no good, and that's not true. If you have a question about is a specific material recyclable, find out. And if you have doubt, throw it out.
Orange County uses the phrase think five so people can focus on those things that are important to recycle. So the first is plastics, jugs, tubs, and bottles, glass jars and bottles, metal cans, cardboard, and paper. If you put one of those 5 things into your recycle bin, they will get recycled. Rechargeable batteries don't go into your garbage or recycling cart. They've been associated with fires. Those should be delivered to a household hazardous waste collection area. Most of the counties in the state have gone to cart collection. If we see good material in the cart, we put a good job tag on it. If we see the wrong material in the cart, we put an oops tag and tell people we're not going to collect it until you get that bad material out of there. We have tagged almost 230,000 households in Orange County. Recycling does happen. Material put into your recycling cart does get recycled, and it's important that we try to keep that as consistent as possible so that we don't have to reject loads and send them to the landfill.
That story was produced by student journalists Rain Keenan, Casey Phillips, and Grace Goodwar for our Sounds of Central Florida project, a partnership between Central Florida Public Media and UCF's Nicholson School of Communication and Media. Hear more stories from this partnership on our website, cfpublic.org. That's it for the wrap this week. But stay listening. Next week, Florida's 6-week abortion ban kicks in. We'll hear from one provider about how this new law will limit access to care and what it's doing to prepare. This podcast is produced by Central Florida Public Media with assistance from News Director LaToya Dennis and Digital Director Ryan Ellison. I'm Brendan Byrne. This is The Wrap.